a lot of people, Armored Core 6 Fires of Rubicon will be the first foray into a series that in many ways FromSoftware was best known for originally. Most people either aren't old enough or don't care enough about being cool enough to pretend they were there and into the games back then. And while some of us might long for From to somehow revisit 3D dot game heroes, Armored Core is an interesting series to reboot, as those early games in the light of day are impenetrable, confusing and more than a bit niche. On the back of Elden Ring and success after success, the question I kept musing upon is why now? But after a hands-off presentation from Yasunori Ogura, lead producer, and Astuo Yoshimura, producer, it seems pretty clear that FromSoft wants to modernise while revolutionising and get the Armored Core series the love it clearly craves. This is an action game where you fight with your own personal mech, explains Ogura, before showing off the three pillars the team consider core to Armored Core 6. First up, the massive and 3D level design, then the tactical combat system further expanded by parts and assembly, and finally, the challenge that modern FromSoftware is known for, which is probably why Ogura described this new Armored Core as combining the fun of the AC series with the action of the current FromSoft games. Armored Core 6 then looks smooth, with fast-moving mechs, responsive controls that are reactive to inputs, and speedy combat. The mission I got to see was interesting, and there were elements of the action that changed depending on how you build your mech. You see, customizing your mech changes via the arsenal is not just for Fashion Souls purposes, but more importantly, to change how your mech controls and indeed your playstyle overall. The maps do look absolutely huge, from desert biomes to icy landscapes. It's a mix of natural terrain mixing with man-made buildings. There are industrial cityscapes and cavernous wilds, and FromSoft says the maps and how you traverse them couldn't be done with a human character, and that this level of exploration is only possible in a mech game. But this is 2023 FromSoftware, the developer who has wowed fans for years with Elden Ring, Bloodborne and Dark Souls, and Ogura explains that you will still need to observe, experiment and repeat encounters to overcome the challenges. While assembly offers you that great deal of freedom, the experimentation of your build might actually be how you end up winning in a more difficult battle. I got to see an early part of the game where you have to capture a large facility called Grid 086. This is a mega structure where essentially the bad guys are hanging out. There's a large exterior to approach via, but the map then gets tight as you go inside to the interior area. Armored Core 6 is a reboot, so the intention is to follow the flow from those original concepts. You get a briefing video before each mission before a launch, and frankly it looks stunning. You can fly off with your boost right away, so long as you have enough energy to do it, and right away the sense of scale is almost overwhelming. Where in previous, more recent FromSoft titles you're faced with paths to travel along, here you can just dash off into the air in any direction you want. And while you need to get inside, you can take any route to get there that you fancy, all thanks to the mobility on offer. In my demo, the player just directly attacked any enemies, flying straight over and engaging in combat. Missiles were flying around everywhere as the mech skidded across the metal grating, destroying foes. After hacking a locked gate, the player was ambushed and had to stay calm, avoiding the multitude of attacks spraying at his mech, learning when to attack and dashing in and out to defeat the enemy. Repair kits restore health, and in the demo we saw the player had 3, but more on that in a moment. Inside then, the claustrophobia is palpable, as a huge mech that barely fits inside. Thankfully you have a scan function to reveal enemies so they can't take you by surprise, making it almost feel like a stealth game, only one with a massive mech at your control. And as the demo progressed, the enemies seem to get more and more aggressive, though you have a shield to block the barrage of firepower, and you can dash then into them to attack when a moment appears. What's difficult to tell without playing it myself is if it's challenging or if it's a player that I saw being an expert. It really does seem like your build matters. At one point during the demo, the player was able to observe a group of enemies, and Ogura mentioned that it was too far to engage with his current build. The ideas suddenly then swirled around my head about making a partial sniper build and how you could tailor that mech to combat your needs. But what of death? What of failure? Well, checkpoints are in the middle of the missions. Yes, checkpoints in a FromSoftware title. You can even check your build, and in the assembly menu alter your loadout. Head, core, arms, legs, you can change them to be better suited for your current situation, and the numbers will change dramatically to show you a less visual idea of what your changes will be doing. There seems to be a huge amount of weapons even at the early part of the game I saw. There are even supply points in some missions where you can grab new health kits. After dying, we got the mech's legs swapped out to make it faster, and they went to try again, which is when I got to see the stagger mechanic. If you are staggered, you'll receive heavy damage from attacks, but of course you can also stagger enemies, and this sounds vital to taking down stronger opponents. There's an impact gauge at the top of the enemy, think Sekiro there, that once filled makes them vulnerable and you can get in close and wreak havoc. It all just seems so fluid and not like you'd think when you're hearing the word mech. At the end of the mission there are boss fights, like one I saw against Cinder Carla, who, wouldn't you guess it, was a huge boss firing rockets from its body with grinder arms it seems you could possibly destroy to help you out. And really I didn't know what to expect before seeing this in action, but now I have, it's clear why FromSoftware is going back to the series. There's really something there. Perhaps there always was, but those worried the developer would be leaving the masocore roots behind probably shouldn't be concerned either, because everything I saw makes me think this could be a superb reinvention of the series, bringing it into the modern era, making Armored Core 6 a serious one to watch ahead of its August 25th release. Thanks very much for watching our video preview. If you did enjoy it, make sure you hit the subscribe button and the bell so you never miss another piece of content. Sorry for the amount of repeated footage, but we only got a little bit that we could show you, and I wanted to make sure I could talk about as much as I could in this video. See you in the next one. Bye for now.